Hi, Tarnia, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. I'm good. How are you today?
I'm great, and I'm glad we finally actually got to doing this. So grateful for it, and grateful that you took time to actually do this with me. You're an extremely accomplished individual. I've checked your profile out. Like, wow.
Thank you.
But I'd really love to get
Thank
to
you.
know, for those who don't know you, who is Tanya? Your career has kind of spanned from, like, how do you put it? Like, your career has just kind of been like rooted in like personal change, and then it's just organizational, and now it's digital. So I mean, who is Tanya? Yeah.
So who am I? Good question. So I'm Tarnia. I am founder of TNS Consulting. So you're right. Like my career started doing management consulting at PwC. So like a really big, one of the big four companies. And I've done that for smaller companies. And then now I'm really focusing on like technology change, a little bit of AI adoption and that kind of area. And like what I'm really passionate is about is understanding the psychology of people at work. Because like in my earlier days working, I'd be there and I'd be like, how did we get here? Like what do you mean we have to make this change? And I'm
Yeah.
just that kind of person where I'm like, I want to see the logic. So it was only natural for me to understand the logic of like how people make decisions, how people work together, and team conflict as well. So that's how I've gotten to where I'm at now.
Yeah. And what, like, listening to you, I'm wondering, when did you kind of realize, or come to the realization rather, that people and technology were one? They're somewhat inseparable, and they kind of lead to the transformation of an organization.
I think that was like towards the end of like my PwC days. So this is like just before COVID. I've been working on like lots of big like digital transformations, and I've been seeing like a lot of like resistance. But like in the UK, when people are resistant, they don't say like why they don't want to do things. They don't say no, I don't want to do things. They just like resist in kind of like an avoidant way.
Yeah.
So that's what I was facing. Like I remember working for like a real estate company and people just not using the new sales system. And I was like, why are you not using it? And the answer was, as a estate agent or someone in real estate, you have your little black book,
Sure.
and in your black book, you have your contacts and your clients. And if you put it in like one central space, someone might try and take your clients. And that's when I started to see like, it's a lot more
Yeah.
interesting and nuanced than like good tech. People love good tech, they'll use it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but like, let's really get into this technology that we keep talking about. I mean, I see that you kind of dabbled with it at some point, and now you're fully in it. I think I saw on LinkedIn you won some award, or you qualified for something, which was incredible. But like, what is it that it is that you do, and why do you have such a human approach to digital innovation and technology?
Um, so what I do is essentially I'm a change manager. So if you're going to bring in a new tech into the company, at the very least, everyone knows that people need to be trained on how to use it. So that's like touching like the very top of it. But what I do is like I'll come up with a strategy on how to actually communicate this change to people. I take people through like a change journey. So like essentially when you go through a change, there's this thing called like the Kubler-Ross grief cycle, which is like how people act when like they get bad news or grief or bereavement, and it matches to the business world, and people tend to go through that cycle. So I kind of take people through that cycle. And the very first feeling that people have is denial. Which is hilarious because that's me every day. Like if we hear bad news, you're like, no, that's not true. That's a ridiculous thing. So that's what I do is I help people through that very emotional journey of change because as humans, we have an innate need to control some aspects of our lives. And we feel like work is an aspect of our life that we can control. And then when we lose control, people get really, really like unpredictable. So that's what I do.
That's so interesting. And what blockers have you been able to identify from when it comes to people adopting new tech, especially when you zero into the generations? And is
Mhm.
it surprising to you that maybe Gen Z aren't as amenable to new tech? Are they used to what they're used to? Or is it just a simple, millennials upwards that they kind of feel like actually we like what we like. I like using things a certain way.
Oh, I think that depends actually. I think for the older gen, so let's say above millennials, maybe they might be a bit more used to what they have and might take a bit more convincing because they've seen a lot more. And what happens is sometimes leadership will decide on a change and not stick with it. So they're like, oh, this won't last. Um, Millennials, so I'll put myself in millennials. I feel like my whole career, my whole life has been changed. So I'm ambivalent to it. So like starting work, having COVID finishing, like we're just used to it. Like the only constant for us is change.
Mm,
But then I'd say for the incoming generation, the Gen Zs, what I would see is like they're a bit more like equality focused or fairness focused. So if you're to motivate them, there has to be like some kind of reward. There's no more like the old aspect of like doing it because they said so. With the new Gen Z, like, oh yeah, the boss said we should work late, so we're gonna work late. That's that would have worked brilliantly with me like 10 years ago. But like, yes, of course, I must follow what they say. But Gen Z, they question things a bit more, which is brilliant. It's absolutely lovely. So it's navigating that. So with the older generation is showing them that it's here to stay. With
mm,
our generation, it's just keeping it simple so that we can just like accept the change and it doesn't bother us in our day to day. And for the younger generation, it's about that clear reason and that clear motivation to change. And yeah, so it's about segmenting it. And even more, it's about how you share the information. So if you think the older generation are used to like more long form content, more detailed, the younger generation, if you give them like a 3 minute video, they're like, "Are you torturing me? That's too long." I'm keeping it short and sweet, snappy. Yeah, much like the TikTok and Instagrams, very short, catch their attention and then let them go.
yeah, I'm so taken aback because I really didn't know that was a thing, that people needed someone or a facilitator of some sort, whether human or not, to help them delve into the new technology. And especially when a company wants to kind of grow and scale up. And especially with the whole AI is taking over, and that fear coming in as well, that am I being taught this so they could get rid of me? Is that something, the question that sometimes you kind of face when you're going through this?
Yes, 100%, 100%. I think, especially with AI, like a lot of technology is not that emotional, it's not that emotive. Like, oh, we're getting a new finance system. Oh, well, it's just let's train people and tell them what's happening. But
Mm,
with AI, there's so many emotions there. Like you're saying, there's that bit of like, what is actually your plan? Is it to train up the AI and then get rid of me? What will my job look like with AI?
yeah,
And it's just really emotional aspect of that. And like a change manager exists because people will sometimes try and make the technology not work, right? If you spend 1 million on a tech that's reliant on people using the tech and no one uses it, you've wasted £1 million or $1 million.
yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, geez. I mean, I just don't know. This is just so it's crazy to me actually. And I do question though, when we with the work that you do, there is some, I guess, democracy or advocacy in the work that you do in, democratizing technology and ensuring that certain generations aren't left behind, and certain races and genders as well. Do you want to kind of touch on that?
yes, 100%. So I think that's what I'm really passionate about. Like entering this like tech space, I realize, you know what, there's not many of me, which is frustrating, right? And
Yeah.
it feels like it's such a big area of opportunity. There's so many trends and things that could come out of it, such as like vibe coding, where now it's easier than ever to make like your own app or platform using AI to help you with the coding in the background. And I'm just really passionate about it. My main focus at the moment has been women, mainly because when you talk about what AI can do, and people are talking about, oh yeah, AI can get rid of those like repetitive tasks or those like more administrative tasks. And then when you think, what does an administrative person or admin clerk look like? More likely to be women. And there's an article I was reading from the World Economic Forum that literally highlighted that for me. And I'm like, that's what I'm passionate about. Where it's like, if AI is going to be huge and we're going to make that massive move to like more AI in the workplace, what does that mean for the jobs that were repetitive before? What does that mean for the people? What does that mean for society? Because as a young woman, with amazing women in my life, like the female pound or dollar has paid for so many school fees, so many school uniforms, so much development of children and the next generation, that yeah, that's what I'm really passionate about. And I feel like the solution kind of is like understanding that and then being really careful in terms of training and upskilling and what the new opportunities look like and making sure that's inclusive. But then the other aspect of when businesses bring in new technology, making sure to not rely on their old assumptions of, oh, Bill, the tech guy, will lead up on the new AI strategy. It could be Helen, the ops director, because she understands how the business works through and through. And I believe that knowledge is something that you can acquire. You can learn new things with a space and the empowerment to do so. And I think women would sit very nicely, equally in that space, in the tech space.
Yeah, and the tech space is really, it's applicable to all entrepreneurs, all established businesses, etc.
Yes.
And oftentimes when you hear people talking about the future of work, they are just talking about AI and digital
Yeah,
transformation. I don't know how many times you've heard about this post-COVID. It's actually, I'm so tired of hearing it.
I know.
I'm so tired of hearing, oh, the future of work, and then you hear the future is female. But at the same time, I think there's something that's not being discussed or talked about enough
Mm.
when you talk about the roles of women and like when it comes to women and the future of work. And what I think is that, like you said, there are certain roles within the workspace that are typically assigned to women, mostly because I guess the women do apply for those roles. And that's, another conversation to have. But you have someone who's very qualified applying for like a sales clerk or whatever, or a receptionist duty or an administrative duty. But what do you think the conversation should be around, especially amongst policymakers and change makers, or those who really do have a strong say within their respective organizations on the conversation surrounding women and the future of work, especially when it comes to digital integration?
I think a big part of it is the upskilling or giving the equal opportunity to learn and keep in touch with what's changing in the world of tech and AI. I think there could be something to be said with supporting women in starting businesses that are empowered by AI or embedding AI into their businesses because we would agree that women face different challenges and problems in life.
Mm.
And we have that unique perspective and imagine if we're empowered to use technology to solve those problems that we face or that perspective that we see. I think there's that aspect. So there's also the aspect of the younger generation, the young ladies coming into the world of work, really showing them that we are there. The women in tech are there. The women in tech are normal, attainable. Like there's nothing exceptionally special about me other than the fact that I've just stuck to it. So just showing them real human role models and that support and also training them up and opportunities in jobs have
Yeah.
more flexible in our thinking. It's many times you see job descriptions where they're like, they want you to have done everything and everything in the job role. But sometimes like give it a little bit of flex, a little bit of creativity and see what happens and give someone a bit different an opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of a bit different, you're quite different from your race and your and your skin and your gender,
Yes.
especially in an industry in the country that you're in, that's predominantly,
Mm.
white, male dominated. How have you kind of found yourself navigating that space?
Yeah, it's taken a bit of getting used to,
Well,
I'll say.
what does that mean?
I think when I started work, I remember like growing up in the UK, my parents were like, "Oh, and you're black, you have to work like 4 times harder." Like, oh, these people, these parents love to exaggerate. Everything's equal, everything's fine. And then you enter the world of work, and you're not really getting the let's say networking opportunities or the benefit of doubt that other young males would get, right? And then you start to think, is there something wrong with me? Only to realize that the benefit lies in the difference, right? So when I started working, I was like all polished, natural hair, perfect heels, right? But now as I've gotten more like some, I'm not wearing natural hair today, but sometimes you just see me just showing up as I am
Yeah.
because I've realized like, oh, if anything, I'm always going to show up in the room. So I just started to embrace that, show up in the room different. I'm the short, probably most of the time the shortest person in the room, the darkest person in the room, and I love to wear pink. So I think that's kind of how I've navigated it, just like leaning more into who I am and the difference that I have, but then also starting to understand the power of networks and people who resonate with you. So using those to like support and advocate for you, so I don't have to always fight my own battles. Sometimes I outsource it to a manager who understands me or to a
Yeah.
colleague who understands me, and that saves a lot of my emotional energy. I'll say, "This is going on, this is going on. What can I do?" And then sometimes people help me with that. So really leaning into that instead of feeling like I have to do everything by myself and face everything by myself all the time. Because, you know, mental health is definitely real.
Yeah, and I really want us to delve into that topic a bit, if you don't mind, because anything to do with change is emotionally taxing, especially change work that you are spearheading at the degree that you are. What emotionally and mentally taxing that is, and heavy. It's quite heavy, I'd imagine.
Mm.
What personal principles guide you in leading this work, especially in environments that are extremely toxic, or really there's just brigades all around, and you're trying to do something that's new, and there's a lot of resistance, or if there's just a lot of difficulties and biases that keep you from progressing and helping the organization progress itself.
Oh, that's a tough question. I think one thing I do to navigate like my mental health is like I love to go for a jog or a cycle to just be outside. I think what I do when I'm really having a bit of a hard time at work is I just go outside and I'll be like, I'm gonna go outside and think. And I think when I'm outside and I'm just sun on my face or rain or wind or whatever, that
Mm,
helps. But I just think about it from a bit of a separated aspect, separated from the situation aspect, try think this is the approach that I'm trying. What other way can I do it? So I just think of it in different ways. And I've also talked about using other advocates in the room to make change happen for me. A
mm,
key part of change approach is called change networks, where you use other people to make the change happen. Because a lot of time it is kind of political and people based, and the only people who can make the change happen, it's not always you. And sometimes I just let someone else almost tell them the idea or the approach that I want them to do,
mm.
get them to buy it in so much so that they feel like it's their idea and then they make it happen. If you understand what I'm saying. So I'm like, oh, I think we should have like a fortnightly training session, you know, and you'd be so amazing. Like I attended your session here and you're really great. You are
Mm.
so amazing at this. Without me saying, I think you should champion this change training session fortnightly.
Right, right.
I've just like empowered them to do it.
Phew, that's so interesting that you kind of have to, I don't know, kind of manipulate in an extremely kind way in order for things to actually align for the betterment of the other individual. Honestly, this is
You
something
will call it
that
influence.
literally that, literally that. But going back to the actual work that you've been doing, what differences have you noticed between companies that struggles, organizations that struggle with adopting new tech versus those that are, susceptible to the change and the new tech that might be included in their new working systems?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say the things I've seen different is two. Clear communication. So the company that is very clear in what they're doing and why, does far better than a company that just says we're doing this in stealth and tries to hide it. And secondly, a company that motivates people like in creative ways. So one of my favorite theories is Froom's expectancy theory of motivation. And in it, he says, you know, to motivate people, they need a reward that they think they can achieve, that they think you will follow
Mm,
through,
yeah.
and that is worth something to them. So like there's a huge difference in saying, do this survey please, and saying, do this survey and you might win £50. Like I've done it before and I'd get so many people doing the survey to a high quality for £50 Amazon voucher versus do this because. So that's the huge difference. A company that knows how to motivate their people, do this challenge and you might win one free day off this year. People are flocking to do it versus do this because you have to. Uh, no one's gonna do
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. It's so interesting. I really didn't know this. So like you're kind of luring people to actually work. But I guess it's the new age that we're working in where so oftentimes, it does need to seem reciprocal and to a certain
Mm,
degree transactional where it doesn't feel like we're doing all of this for your vision or for you to meet your KPIs, or we're not going to gain anything from it. So it's just such an interesting strategy that you kind of input there. I do have two more questions, and I kind of actually wanted to
mm,
start with this question, but we needed to set the premise first, which was really how do we how do we set up women, empower women, Black people who, or just people who are in positions that are not, that are somewhat impoverished or are not really that knowledgeable about technology? How do we kind of, align them? What simple steps can we take to help them build confidence to using digital tools, especially entrepreneurs who may feel like certain things are expensive and they're not for them, and
mm, mm.
and the biggest worry being them remaining an SMME for the next 10 years continuously, and there'd be no growth because they don't want to start utilizing digital tools to help their businesses scale.
Mm. I think from like if I was a management consultant helping a SME do this, I'd use my business analysis approach, right? So
Yeah.
I would say pick out the things that are painful, so the pain points in your day to day. So some people have the same email come in with the same response, and they spend so much time doing that role, right? Some people have this in their job in their company that just like takes a lot of time. And then maybe there's a website called like there's an AI for that because there truly is always an AI for that. And look for the AI or the tech solution that could help you and fix that one problem. I think that's the thing. Sometimes when you look at the problems and what's difficult, you look at all 100 problems, fix one problem that's painful and that takes time and that's easy to fix and
Mm.
start from there. And then once you fix that one problem, you've actually built a bit of aptitude to fix the next one and the next one. So that's what I would do is I'd say what do a week of work and then at on Friday reflect on like what was like really repetitive and boring and that you actually don't have to do and fix that one. The second one is community. I think we go further together. So it would be nice to like have or join an existing community of people who maybe do the same things that you do, or if you're in a competitive space, people who do different things to you, and just like maybe make that an initiative of the group for the month to explore the tech or the AI, much
Mm.
like like a book club almost, like
Yeah.
learn together and solve one problem is what I'd recommend.
Yeah. Oh, that's actually so brilliant. And when you look ahead into the future, whenever that is, what gives you the most hope about the future of digital innovation and the underrepresented community shaping it?
Mm. I think the thing that gives me most hope is we talk a lot about like how AI can change jobs or whatever, but then there's also a big aspect of how AI could change health outcomes or healthcare or the future of health, right? With maybe with scanning cancer X-rays and stuff like that, how it could be I was reading a book um just a month ago and like the principles of AI, where an AI model was able to find the antibiotic to fix antibiotic resistant bacteria that they hadn't been able to do for years, and it did it 5 years of work in literally no time at all. So that's what gets me really excited, because like we could be using AI to live longer, happier, healthier lives. And that's really exciting to me. And then in terms of like equality and gender equality, I think when I look to at all the groups that helped me moving up in my career, of like UK Black Tech, which is absolutely lovely. A big group of people who do that. And then there's so many networks that are available to me, and that makes me really excited to see what the future looks like. I also like how we're outspoken. Like I feel like in the past we didn't really talk about race or gender. Now it's all I can talk about, and I'm not going to stop. And there's plenty others who talk about it and let people know like their experience.
Mm.
So that makes me super excited, living better, longer, healthier lives, being outspoken about what our experiences are, how it can be better, what we're capable of. I'm so excited for that. So
Wow.
excited.
Amazing. Goodness. Thank you so much, Tanya. I know we're in two completely different continents, but we are connected by our value systems and just both of us, I think, really wanting more people to be informed and educated and empowered through the information that you're sharing with us. That it is possible at the end of the day. It's not for people in Europe or in the Western world, whatever. You know, even
Mm.
us here, like everything you're saying is so applicable to Botswana or South Africa or wherever they're listening to right now. So I'm extremely grateful that they've taken time to kind of give us this knowledge. Are you going to start a course, a short course on what you do? I've never heard a change manager a day in my life apart before you came into my
I
world.
should.
Yeah, like I think
I
it's a
should,
short
shouldn't I?
course, something to connect with LinkedIn, I think there's an opportunity there. I think a lot of us still need to learn from you. Despite this brief conversation, I really wish we could do it for like 2 hours actually.
Mm. Shouldn't I? And I was thinking when you're saying like connected, I think the one thing that like my homeland Zimbabwe has, and
Yeah,
Botswana and South Africa and Namibia have over Europe, is the young, youthful,
100%.
intelligent, and extremely capable
Yeah,
generations that are coming up. Like that's a huge advantage. And oh my goodness, what we achieved with such a young and amazing
yeah.
generation. I have so much hope for the future.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tanya. And thank you all for listening in and tuning into the podcast. We will catch you next time.